So, how much motion will I really feel on a cruise? And if I've got motion sickness, is taking a cruise gonna knock me out? On this episode of Unpacked, we'll take a look at which types of cruise ships might feel more motion versus less motion, where on a cruise ship you'll feel the least amount of motion, and we'll compare ocean cruises to river cruises when it comes to movement. Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie with Unconditional Adventures, your favorite travel agent turned travel content creator. And today I booked my very first personal Alaska cruise, which I'm super excited about. It's a 10-night cruise tour. Super stoked. So I thought, what better day to talk about cruise content than a day I've just booked one of my favorite cruises to book. And I'm very excited to go check it out myself. So yes, let's talk about motion on a cruise ship. If you ask 10 different people how much motion they felt, if it was noticeable, things like that, you will get 10 different answers. So let's kind of look at the science behind it. And I can give you some personal experience and what other people have told me. But again, we'll kind of look at the science behind it, and you can use that to determine if you think a cruise ship is going to be the best fit for you, where on the cruise ship, that kind of thing. So especially, this applies especially if you suffer from motion sickness, but even if you don't, the cruise can still definitely mess with your equilibrium and things when it comes to motion. So this is good knowledge for anybody, especially first-time cruisers who really don't know what to expect when it comes to the motion of a cruise ship. So when we look at modern cruise ships, they tend to be getting bigger, right? You look at some of Royal Caribbean's newer ships that are holding 10,000 people. These cruise ships are just massive. So how are they doing that without making people sick and kind of controlling that motion? All of your modern day cruise ships have far enhanced stabilizers when it comes to not feeling the rocking of the boat. The science would tell you the bigger the ship, the less movement that you will feel on the cruise ship because of those stabilizers, and because the wider it is underneath, the less susceptible it is to wave movement. So science would say the bigger the cruise ship, the less you will notice it. I have not always found that to be true. I sailed on the Wonder of the Seas when it was first, like on the inaugural launch. And at the time, it was the biggest cruise ship out there. And I absolutely felt every inch of the movement all the time. Like I could tell when we were docked versus out on open sea, not from looking at the movement, but being able to feel it wherever I was in the cruise ship. You could definitely tell when we were moving. And to me, I noticed it a lot more. That's not always true. And again, some people will say the bigger the ship, they don't even know that they're on a cruise ship because the stabilizers are so good. So when you are in either the forward part or the aft part of the ship, which is the very front or the very back, those are going to be the spaces that are least controlled by the stabilizers. So you will notice more rocking, more swaying when you're on like the extreme front, the extreme back. So if you're looking for, hey, I don't want to feel any motion at all, the absolute best place for you is going to be in the dead center of the ship. If you can stay midship, and the lower you can be on a deck when it comes to like your cabin, for example, the lower you can be on a deck, the closer you are to the stabilizers. So again, you're not going to feel as much movement. You won't notice it as much. One of my very first cruises, I was dead center of the ship on a lower deck in an interior room with no window. And I literally thought I was being rocked to sleep every night. It was just like a gentle sway. I didn't notice it as much. This last cruise that I just took on Quantum of the Seas, I was up on deck 13, and I could, again, tell every time we were moving, I felt the sway at night and in the mornings. It wasn't terrible, like it wasn't enough to give me any kind of a sickness, but it certainly messed with my equilibrium to the point of having what they call sea legs for a good solid 2 days after I got off the ship. I could constantly, no matter where I was, I felt like I was still moving, like I could still feel that sway. And it took 2 full days to kind of get that out of my system. So that's the other thing too, is the higher you are, again, the less the farther you are away from stabilizers. And so you are going to feel that motion the higher you are. So if you're a person that is nervous about motion sickness, just nervous about the motion of the ship in general, stay in the center and get as low as you can when it comes to your cabin. that's really where you're not going to feel it as much, which is also why you'll notice that the main dining rooms are usually very low on a ship. The ship that I just got off of, the main dining rooms were in level 3 and 4, or deck 3 and 4, because they want them to be stable and they want them to be as close to those stabilizers as possible to not have to worry about things like your plates sliding off of your table, things like that. So you'll notice that, and a lot of ships will have their dining rooms lower, their kind of main focus areas, whether it's the lounges, the bars. Some will be higher up because you're going for those nice views, right? But a lot of the indoor stuff is going to be on a lower deck because they want to stabilize it more and for there not to be any chance of that much movement. So stay low in the ship, stay in the center of the ship, and you may not even notice that the ship is moving at all. Again, the bigger the ship, in theory, the less movement you should feel. So keep that in mind. Some of these bigger ships are really kind of pushing towards that 3-day weekend sort of marketing scheme right now. And so it's a good chance to really give one a try and see how much you notice it, if you like it, that kind of thing. Take a 3-night cruise, and it's usually going to be a day at sea or a day to your destination, a day in port, and a day back. So you could even get off the ship, obviously get off the ship for part of that time. And so it's really a good starter cruise to kind of see how will you do on a cruise ship. Could I tell you you won't feel any movement? No, you're going to notice it. And so a lot of people with motion sickness, you'll see them with the patch behind their ear that helps with the balance of the ear and keeps you from getting that vertigo feeling. There are bracelets that you can buy, and I'll put a link to the description or in the description for all of this stuff as well. But there's like motion sickness bracelets that you can buy that help calm all that down as well, so you're not feeling that kind of motion in your ears. And yeah, obviously too, the other thing you can do in the moment is get in bed and turn the lights off and just kind of ride it out. And so that's a good way to kind of get rid of that motion sickness feeling if it hits you while you're on the cruise ship. But keep that in mind. There are easy ways for you to try out a cruise and see if it's something that you're going to like and if it's something that's not going to bother you. I've sailed with many, many people who have motion sickness and absolutely love cruises because they know how to prepare for it, and they also know where on the ship to be. When you're in port and the ship is not moving, then go try out the stuff in the far front or the far back and see those higher decks, because you're not going to be moving and you won't feel that motion when you're in port. But again, if it is something that bothers you, stay in the center, stay low in the ship, and hopefully that's enough to kind of level yourself out and keep your motion sickness in check. The other thing too is people ask about river cruises versus ocean cruises. Obviously, river cruise ships are tiny, right? They're usually pretty skinny because they're getting into places that obviously ocean cruise ships are far too big to get into. Also, river cruises by name travel on rivers versus ocean cruises, which travel on ocean. There is not nearly the kind of movement, waves, things like that on a river. River waters are normally calmer. And so river cruises tend to not, again, like you may not even know that you're on one. They tend to not sway or move nearly as much. Now, the ships are not equipped with the same kind of stabilizers because in theory, they don't need them. Not to say you would never feel motion, because you can if it's a choppy day, if it's a windy day, things like that. You will certainly notice the motion, but it shouldn't be anywhere near what you would notice on an ocean cruise because you're just not in that kind of rough water. So a river cruise, also a way to really try out a longer cruise and see how you do with much less motion. A lot of river cruises are kind of start at like 9 or 10 nights. And so that's going to be a longer cruise. Now, there are certainly river cruises here in the States that can be shorter. But again, it's another way for you to just kind of try out the cruise experience and see, is this for me? Is this something that I can handle with motion sickness, or just, kind of get a feel for what that motion is going to be? River cruises, you really shouldn't notice it at all. Now, that being said, on one of my cruise excursions, I had lunch with a couple who had gotten back from a river cruise and said they felt it every step of the way. Like, they were very aware that they were moving, they felt the rocking, and all of these things that they had heard about a river cruise motion just weren't true. Again, like I said, you can ask 10 different people and get 10 different answers. But the science behind it would say the river cruise, less choppy water, doesn't need the same kind of stabilizers. You aren't going to notice as much motion because there just isn't any. So keep those things in mind. Again, this is where having a travel agent can really come in handy, because hopefully your travel agent has knowledge like this. Can give you some ideas on those shorter cruises to try, or again, looking at those staterooms for you and helping you pick out a room. Keep that in mind. A lot of cruise lines will offer what they call guaranteed rooms, which means you are guaranteed the type of room, but they pick out where the room will go. Yes, it's cheaper that way, but then you have no say whatsoever in what deck you're on, where the room is located, things like that. So if you are truly concerned with the motion aspect of it, I would bump yourself up to that next level and make sure that you or your travel agent gets to pick exactly where your room is located, so that again you can stay towards the center and stay a little bit lower. Will the views be as good? No. There's a lot of clout when it comes to staying in a suite on deck 16, things like that. But again, if you are first time in it, or if the motion thing is really an issue, do the smart thing, stay in the center, stay low, and give yourself that chance to recover easier, and hopefully not feel it much at all, especially when you're in your room and sleeping. So work with your travel agent. If you don't have a travel agent, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to walk through it with you and kind of see what's best for you, what cruise lines are offering specials right now. I'll tell you right now, is when I'm recording this, it's currently in the middle of November, and Black Friday sales are crazy hot right now for all kinds of cruises. So now is a great time to look, even all the way into 2027. Some cruise lines are open into 2028 already. So look and see. This gives us a ton of time to really plan and prepare. See, how long you think you want to try one. If it's your first time and you want to do a shorter one, great. If you've done it before and you think you know what you want to do a longer cruise and try that out, great. Now is an excellent time to book a cruise. There are just tons of specials happening. So again, reach out to me if it's something you want to check out. Leave me a message in the comments, and I'm happy to reach out to you, or I'll put my email in the description so you can email me and we'll go from there. If you have a different take on motion on a cruise, please comment below. That's what these are all about, is to kind of just have that discussion and give people a chance to say, yeah, this isn't true. This is, I had a completely different experience. So put your experience in the comment. Do you notice movement on smaller ships versus bigger ships? Do you notice the movement more when you're up high versus low? Things like that. So tell me your experience. Give other people a chance to read those as well, so that you can share your knowledge too. And we can all kind of get through this motion sickness debacle together, right? So thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to watch the other episodes in my Unpacked series. Reach out whenever you've got questions or are ready to book your first cruise, your next cruise, your 50th cruise. I'm happy to help, and happy adventuring.